So here we are to recap the 2037-38 European campaign, as well as looking at the winter transfer window and our youth intake. Let me tell you, there's more players came through the intake than we signed, by quite a lot. This is just an intro, you better believe it. Jesus, that was bad. Well, welcome to the series. So thank you for joining me and welcome to this episode 2037-38 European recap. So we started in the Champions League group stage because we obviously won the league title, winning it for the first time in a couple of years. And as you can see, we started against Shakhtar and got a 1-0 victory with the 89th minute winner. It's a mouthful. 55% possession. 14 shots to 11, but it was never truly convincing. But we will take the 3 points and move on to the next match. Part of me wishes we didn't move on to the next match, which ended Manchester City 5, Egerton 0. 26 shots to 5. We did have 48% possession, which we should be happy with, but yeah, who's manager of Manchester City? Jakob Nastrup is the manager, and we got smashed. We got smashed. I did see the top screen there, they now have 6 Champions Leagues, so they're doing alright. Next game was Egerton 4, Juventus 2, and this was one of my proudest moments maybe as manager in terms of a proper smashing. Maybe beating Bayern 3-0 in the World Club Cup was fantastic, but this in the Champions League was just truly superb. Dovzak with 3 goals, who obviously performed really well last season if you saw in the last video. But yeah, 4-2 over Juventus was a great result. 9 shots to 7. We had less possession as well, so we were just that counter-attacking team in this game. Couple of slip-ups. So first off, we slipped up to Wolves at home 3-1. Now they won. Was it the Europa League or Conference League? Let me know in the comments below. It was on the last video. We then travelled to Milan and lost also 3-1, Knudsen being our goal scorer, but yeah, very disappointing. Now we did end the year with a 2-1 victory over Lyon, which did put us back in contention for that playoff round qualification. Maida and Brun on the score sheet, really pleased how we managed to bounce back and get that 2-1 victory. We then came up against Dortmund and we got 2-1 victory over them away from home, and this was one of them shock results which did almost guarantee us qualification of the playoff round at this point. Wasn't expecting to turn them over. 2-1, Samare from the penalty spot, then Sander on the score sheet. And we travelled to Serbia with the idea that 1 point would guarantee us qualification into the knockout rounds, and we got that with a 1-1 draw. And as you can see here, we end up going through quite comfortably, sitting in 15th place and qualifying for the playoff rounds where we would come up against Dortmund. Now before that, let's have a look at the ins and outs over the transfer window. So on this screen we are looking at last season's 2037, and you can see no transfers came in to the club, which fell on last year's list. In terms of going out, Victor went to William 2, that is the young goalie we picked up from Tromsø, who just never developed how we would have hoped. Jallo, which I did speak about, I was selling his attitude. He just started complaining about anything, basically. Probably because I wasn't playing him, but he still was complaining. Then a couple of the players there. Kone has gone out on loan again to start. I do have hope he can develop into a good player. So another season out on loan, we'll see how he does. Now moving on to the 2038 transfers, and you can see we've signed nobody. So over the winter transfer window, after ending last season unbeaten, winning the league, I decided we will go with the exact same team into next year as they just get that little bit older, step by step. Now we did lose some players. Now we have a young right back called Pierre who I've promoted. This is him, and I do think he has a lot of potential. I do think he could be a very good right back. But this did mean there was no space for Mads Holmas. Now I don't think he's that good. I really don't think he's that good of a player. And Norway's even capping him. I must be missing something. But I just don't rate him as good as our other 2 right wing backs. So we left him out of the squad registration. My plan was put him in our youth team for a year and just see if he developed a bit better. But he kicked up that he wasn't in the squad registration for the league. So I said, okay, we'll sell you. And Liverpool came in with a 4 million bid, rising to 5.25 million. And I snapped their hands off. And the only other player to leave is Olsen, just leading into the summer. He's gone as well. But the rest were like loan deals. The likes of Ben Cruz still getting him some football, seeing if he can still continue to develop. Poku, who we picked up for 650k, again out on loan to another club in Norway, again with the idea that just see if he can continue to develop. And as we go forward, I think that Poku could be a very good backup player for this squad. So looking at the youth intake, it does come up as a very good one. Hopefully some players can develop from it. So the first one is Olaf Erling Haaland. And when we click on him, he's a right winger stroke striker. His composure, etc. really lets him down in terms of striker. So I do hope he can develop a little bit. You can see here he is wanted by Marseille and Inter. I don't have a lot of hope for him just because of some of his mentals, but we'll keep a close eye on him. Costa, Jamaican stroke English come through our intake, and he is developing really nicely, mentally and physically very good. Technically, if a few of them can improve and get over that 10 mark, I think he will be a very, very good player. You got Lasse Berger, who, I'm not a big fan of, but again came and just add some depth to the under-19 squad. You've got Vesterheim, who again is a player who has really good mentals. If his physicals and technicals can improve, he could turn into a very, very good player. And now this is a player who I really like. He has moved up into the first team. You can see here 6 caps for the first team already. He looks really, really good. I've retrained him already as a defensive midfielder. Retrained him as Segunde Volante in the defensive midfield role because we have Brun in centre mid, so he's back up to both. But I see him as a defensive-minded one with that tackling ability. With his tackling better than his vision, that was one of the reasons why I'm training him more as a defensive midfielder than a central midfielder. But he looks really, really good. The fact he's all the way down here is a bit upsetting because he does look really, really good. And the final one we'll look at is a right wing back who again has been wanted by some people. He is currently wanted by AZ, Ajax and Feyenoord. If any of them come in with bids, I'll probably try to secure him. Because, again, another player who, again, looks like he has a lot of potential. So I am really, really impressed with some of the signings we made. As you can see, I've moved the pros and cons here. And I did that in preparation for a video. Because I wanted to talk about my strikers. So, Dovzak, as you can see, 12 goals in 48. He has cons, big matches. Samare, been with us for a while now, since 2031. 106 goals for the club. Con, big matches. And our final striker, which is Alscott, who has been with us since 2035, but this is the first season he's been moved into the first team with 5 goals already in the league, just as a bit of a spoiler. But again, his con is big matches. So I'm thinking of having a clear out in the striker position. I feel like our squad is looking very, very good in all areas. But maybe when it comes to them big games in Europe, we're not scoring the goals, so we need to get over the line. And maybe I need to be looking at a couple of new strikers who don't bottle it in big matches. And we talk about bottling it in them big matches. Dortmund, we got drew against in the playoff round. We lost the first leg 2-1, made on the score sheet. You see, no strikers scored in that game. Really, really disappointing. You see, actually, Samara got 6.2. And that is a regular thing where we're getting low ratings in the big games. So this is another reason why I am starting to look and think, okay, how can I push this team to the next level? And I think a new striker might be the option. But unfortunately at home, we actually lost the game 1-0, which saw us go out 3-1 on aggregate, with again a 6.5 from Samara. And the other strike that came on was Dovzak, who got a 6.4. I think it's leaning towards that, guys, isn't it? I honestly think it's leaning towards that. So that saw us go out of the Champions League in the knockout round. So the first team to look at is Odds, who played in the Europa League, and they came up against Fenerbahce in the playoff round. They won the first leg 3-0 before 0-0 away from home, but that domination saw them go through into the group stage, where, looking at this, it was a very nice campaign. First off against Cypriot side, is it? Yes, it is. Cypriot side, Omonia got a 3-1 win before travelling to Spain and getting a 1-1. Travelling to Holland against NAC and getting a 1-1. Before Karabag and Maccabi Tel Aviv both came 2-odd and 2-0 and 2-0 saw them looking very comfortable before a 2-all at home to Man United. Going into 2038, they ended the group stage with a 2-1 win over Ludogorets and a 2-0 over Rijeka. Now, disappointingly, they went to Holland and lost 2-0 before winning 2-1, going out in the round of 16. After such a dominating performance in the group stage, I expected them to go deeper. So let's have a look at Sogndal now. They first came up against Firenze and got 2-1 victory away from home for 2-all draw at home. They then came up against Fenerbahce in the Europa League qualifying round, and yeah, they lost the first leg 2-0 before 2-all draw at home, but it was too late. They ended up dropping down into the Europa League. Qualifying for the Europa League with a 2-1 victory away from home against Ararat before beating them 3-0 at home. And that saw them go into the group stage of the Conference League, where they came up against Fenerbahce first, who knocked them out in the Europa League qualifying. So they went out again against Odds, wasn't it? They beat Fenerbahce 3-2 before a 1-all against Ferencvaros, a 1-all against Dnipro. They beat Zalgiris from Lithuania 3-1 before Firenze 1-all at home. Then they played Sikkeborg from Denmark and got 1-0 victory. Going in 2038, they came up against AEL Limassol in the, is it the playoff round? It is. Beat them 2-0 away from home before losing 2-1 at home, but that saw them go through to the round of 16, where they came up against Sevilla. Now, unfortunately, Sevilla, who seem to pop up every year, were just too good. Beat them 2-0 at home before they lost 3-2 away from home, so really disappointing. But again, another team in the round of 16. So we move on to Stabæk, who were one of the disappointing teams. So first off, in the Conference League qualifying, they came up against JB. And they lost 2-0 away from home. They won 2-0 away from home before winning 2-1 at home. Shamrock Rovers 1-1 away from home before 3-1 victory at home. But they went out in the final qualifying round against Sikkeborg. Drawing 1-all away, they had it in their hands, but they lost 2-1 at home. And they didn't even make it to the group stage. So the next team to look at is Vålerenga, who played against Feyenoord in qualifying for the Champions League, and they got smashed. 3-1 at home and then 4-0 away from home saw them go into the group stage of the Europa League. And I don't know what's happened to their team, but they're mid-table in the league, and they did awful. 2-0 defeat to Brøndby, 2-0 to Sporting Gijón, a 2-all draw against Celta Vigo, 1-all draw against Sporting, 1-all against Olympiacos before losing to Sarajevo 2-0. Going in 2038, they ended with a 2-1 victory over Club Brugge before losing 3-0 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, in terms of how all of them things have affected us, we have moved up 2 places in the competition rankings back to 8th. It seems like we have a yo-yo with the league rankings at the minute. We have moved to 1 place to the 18th best team in Europe at the minute. And in terms of the coefficient rankings, we had a 12.7 season. So it was the best season in a couple of years, probably because cup teams got to around 16. So we did end on 64 points, which was 7 points behind Portugal. You can see that they didn't even have the best season. But yeah, we are going to lose a 13. They're only going to lose a 7 for Turkey. So Turkey are going to close within 4 points of us. But we are now only 5 points behind Portugal because they are losing a 15. And the season after they're losing an 18, they're a 16. So there's a chance we can chase Portugal down if we start improving and getting to the last 8 or last 4 of the Champions League in this couple of years. But I do have faith I definitely want to point out Fosterdahl coming through our academy a couple of years ago now, 68 caps for the club now, and he's just insanely good. He is just insanely good. We've got to mention him. But that is it for today's video. I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Now we'll see you in the next video when we recap this 2038 season, which is the hardest ever, as we are expected to win the league. Not top 4, not top 2, to win the league. And let me tell you, in June, we're not top.